Welcome to Fairy Tale Access, where the head fairy's quest is to prove that fairy tales do exist in actual time rather than once upon a time. Together, we will unravel the heroes, young and old, who turn dreams into reality. These are the people who still believe in happily ever after. The discoveries will bend even our most cynical non-believers into believing in fairy tales. Hi, welcome to Fairy Tale Access. Today, my guest is Joe Witten, and we're going to talk about Apparel Impact. We all know how we like to look in apparel, but Joe has some inside information on how apparel affects the community when we're done with it. Welcome, thank you.
Thanks, appreciate you having me.
My pleasure. So can you tell me a little bit about Apparel Impact, the textile recycling and community support that you've organized?
Yeah, so Apparel Impact is a family-owned company. We started in May of 2014, so we're actually coming up on a year. And really the idea is to kind of have a full circle company, not only a business that's focused on creating jobs and making a profit, but a business that's focused on community support, supporting local people in New Hampshire, families in need, lower income families, homeless, and also nonprofit organizations. So, and then the third part to that is being environmentally focused, right? So reducing textile waste and instead supporting people who are in need with it. So that's the basic premise.
So what kind of projects do you do to reduce the waste?
So our major operation is really recycling bins, which we place throughout the state of New Hampshire. And so you'll see them kind of throughout at businesses or churches or schools or what have you. And they're pretty large white recycling bins. They have our name on them. They have the reason for it. Thank you for supporting the community, that type of thing. And it basically gives people the opportunity to recycle their unwanted clothing. So they can deposit it, know that it's either being used for something within their community or at least being kept out of the local landfills. So
what's the mission of the overall Apparel Impact company itself?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different missions, I guess I would say is.
So first, can you explain why it's important to reduce textile waste in landfills? Does it affect it differently?
Yeah, so textile waste is actually 10% of the entire United States municipal waste. And it's kind of sad because it can be used for other things. It's not like a banana peel. I mean, clothes can be used for insulation within walls, furniture insulation. It can be used to clothe other people in need, homeless. Even thrift stores can use used clothing to sell to families who are lower income or people who are looking to save a dollar or two and buy nice clothing at an affordable price. So there's so many uses with it, but the effects is, the dye from the textiles that are in the landfills can actually end up in our water supply, and it does end up in our water supply. So it's actually a pretty deep effect from a negative perspective when we're looking at textiles in our landfills. Instead, why not recycle it? Let's support people in our local communities and support business, creating local jobs. That's actually one thing that a lot of people don't know is that, we look at like municipal waste and like our garbage men who come and collect, our trash every week, right? So textile recycling could actually create 10 times more jobs countrywide if we started to just recycle textiles. So we're talking about a huge opportunity for the U.S. To create a mass amount of jobs for people, reduce landfill waste by 10%, help people in need in the local community, and from an economic perspective, it brings in more revenue, right, for not only the city, but for families across the U.S. So it's kind of it seems too good to be true, but the reality is if we really do recycle textiles, our clothing and our shoes, we could really make a pretty big difference. So that's kind of what Apparel Impact is about.
Wow. So what are some of the other ways besides giving to the homeless? And I know that you give to veterans. What are some other ways that you can recycle? Like, is there a process that you have to go through do you have to take out the dyes, rip it apart?
Yeah, so the reason why the dye within textiles is bad is because they're basically placed in municipal waste landfills. So they're in the ground. And so that's kind of where the dye leaks out and it gets into our water supply. But when it comes to like Apparel Impact and companies similar to us, there's not really a whole lot of process because we're not putting them in the ground. We're basically reusing them for other reasons, whether it be put the shirt on someone's back who needs it, tear it up and ship it to a construction company who needs it for insulation in walls. So it's not going into the environment and having negative effects. It's just being used in just different ways.
Wow. And you also support orphanages?
We do, yeah. So my dad's been a missionary for 30 years, and he really focused on all different types of countries and continents. So for instance, he focused on Nigeria and Liberia for a lot of years. He went and took teams there for weeks or 2 weeks at a time. And when the earthquake happened in Haiti a few years back, there was an island off the coast of Haiti called La Gonâve. And there was about 20 to 25 kids who were kind of just roaming around and being taken care of by random people because their parents had actually passed away in the earthquake. So when my dad had visited Haiti and he kind of saw this going on, he kind of made it his mission, now our family's mission, now Apparel Impact's mission, to make sure that they had an orphanage. And so we actually have a full-time worker there who's actually my cousin, Melissa, and her husband, and they take care of 30 kids. So we feed them, we clothe them, we educate them, and they're actually doing really well. In fact, one of them is actually being adopted by an American family going through the process now. So yeah, it's really cool, yeah. And the Apparel Impact it's focused on New Hampshire, right? So that's we're all about being local, but our one thing that we do internationally is that orphanage, just because we care so much about it and the opportunities there to take care of the kids. So
absolutely.
yeah.
So are there any other harms of the textile waste besides going into the water supply? Does it create methane gases or?
Yeah, so in fact, actually, I have something on CO2. I actually was just reading this the other day. So basically, yeah, 1 pound of textiles emits more than 7 pounds of CO2 into the environment. So there's definite concerns, right? And a lot of people don't think of it, but the average person throws away 120 pieces of clothing every year.
120 pieces?
120 pieces of clothing, whether it be a shirt, a tie, a belt, shoes, socks, 120 pieces, and that's the average American. And we all do it. It's not accusatory, but it's something we do. We don't need it anymore, so we just throw it out with the trash. The reality is that we could actually create a lot of jobs if we just decided to throw it in a bin. Or if we decided to call up a recycling company and save our clothes and have them pick it up or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you get started in this?
So I actually had a friend in California who was working for a textile recycling company, and they were doing some similar stuff. They weren't as community focused, but I brought the idea up. There wasn't a lot going on in New Hampshire that was like this, and so I brought the idea up to my family. I thought it would be a great business, a great family-owned business. But in addition, we were kind of thinking about the impacts it could have on New Hampshire. Like, what if we could create 20 or 30 good-paying jobs because of this, or more? What if we could feed and clothe 3,000 to 4,000 homeless men and women a year, which we did last year? What if we
and
could?
This is your first year in.
Our first year in, right? And we're not even that big yet. We're just.
How many employees do you have?
It's just us three right now. It's just my dad, myself, and my brother, and we're bootstrapping it. It's not easy,
right.
But we're doing really well, and we're growing. And every bin that's placed gives us the opportunity to impact New Hampshire more. More people.
Well, where are the bins placed?
So really all over. We have partnerships with schools. We have partnerships with businesses, a lot of businesses. We have partnerships with dry cleaners and people who are dealing with clothing already. Rather than dry cleaners throwing out unpicked up things or ripped items, they can recycle with us. But so basically, if a business wanted to help out the community, they can basically pick, a nonprofit or a cause to support, and Apparel Impact will basically place the bin, and we'll support the nonprofit or cause that they want to support. So.
So it's a portion of whatever you make off of whatever's in the bin goes back to their nonprofit.
New Hampshire local nonprofit or cause.
Fantastic.
And really, even if a business, maybe already does their community work, and they want to maybe make some additional income from it, they can do that too. Small businesses across New Hampshire are always looking for ways to increase revenue. It's not easy owning a small business, so if they can make an extra $600 to $700 a year by placing a bin, we have some customers who choose to do that, and it's been really great because regardless, we're supporting the community. So.
I bet it would be good with consignment shops around the area too, because they're getting things in and they're not always accepting them.
Right.
So instead of people taking it back home, they could just drop it off.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, that is a great
I haven't thought about that, but you're hired.
Okay, thanks.
You can start making phone calls. No, that's a great idea. We just started to discuss with a thrift store last week. I won't say the name. They're looking over our agreement now, but it's a pretty large thrift store, and it's a similar idea. It's stuff that maybe doesn't sell, but people who need it.
Well, you should suggest to them when you're coming in, because I love shopping at thrift stores, but
I know, me too.
when you go in to drop off your own things, there's a lot of times they'll be like, no, we're not taking that.
Right.
There is a small spot right there.
Right.
So then they could just turn around and put it in the bin.
Right.
And then you can walk away feeling good because you're like, okay, at least I didn't throw it in the trash.
No, that's true. Yeah, and that's a great idea. I haven't thought about that, but that's something that I might be starting on this week because that's a phenomenal idea.
Thanks.
But yeah, so relationships with those like thrift stores is good, but having a bin there might be useful too. So that's really good.
Absolutely. I wonder about different clothing stores too, because they have to have products that get damaged.
Yeah, I've reached out to a few corporate multinational chains, like a Marshalls or something like that. It's kind of tough to discuss that with those folks because they're so large, and it's kind of unsure of who handles that responsibility, or even if they would partner with a small company like us, but maybe locally owned clothing stores.
Or maybe Burlington Coat Factory, they always do their coat drives.
Right.
So if you bring in your worn out coat and place it in the bin, that would be good.
Yeah, definitely.
So how can people get a hold of you if they want to sponsor a bin?
Yeah, so they can actually go to apparelimpact.com, and there's a submission form right there where they can include their information, and they'll get a call within 24 hours, either from myself or my dad or my brother. We'll talk with them about what they're looking to do, the location. If it's a busy kind of location that's visible to the public, that would be great because people will see it. They're driving to work, they're driving home from soccer practice. They can pull over and put it in. That's kind of the perfect scenario.
Now, what about something like they have these new residential programs going through New Hampshire where you can get online and find out everything that's happening in your section.
Yeah.
Whether it's Lincoln
I heard about
Park.
this in Goffstown, New Hampshire.
Yeah. So what about having a bin just in a residential section? Say somebody hosts it for a month, so people can come and drop things off.
Yeah, we tried that in I want to say either Ware or Goffstown. It was either that, and I think there was an issue with zoning. So someone couldn't host a bin at their home. It has to be a business or like a nonprofit address, like a commercial zoning.
Okay.
That was an issue. But we actually had someone call us, and they did it like a neighborhood clothing drive, where they placed trash bags and like little cards saying, "I'll be around next Saturday," and they went around, picked up the clothes, and we were able to use them for.
Ooh, so you should check with the Parks and Recs departments.
Exactly. Yeah.
because everybody's always going there. You can just drop it in.
Right, exactly. And actually, we also wanted to discuss with New Hampshire municipal waste facilities. You know, you're going to the dump, maybe people are bringing their clothes to the dump and throw, a couple of bags. If we had a bin there, we kind of divert it from our local landfills, get that dye away, get the CO2 away.
Absolutely.
And so there are some ideas that we're floating around and we're trying to work hard on establishing, so.
Sounds great. What a great business.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Good idea. What are some interesting things that have happened to you along the way?
I would just say, like the fast growth stuff. We're growing so fast. Sometimes I find ourselves working 70 to 80 hours a week. We're trying to build this company. We're trying to do, great things in the community. And it's a lot of work. So along the way, we meet a lot of great people. So on Christmas Eve, we held a huge homeless event. So we actually served like warm beef stew. We had nice French bread brought in. We had over 300 coats that the homeless could pick from. We had boots, we had shoes. And a pregnant woman had come in and she was actually homeless. So my wife had put together a nice little package thinking that there could be someone who could be pregnant there. And it was kind of just like, newborn stuff. And so we were able to give that to her, which was really awesome. So things like that, nothing out of the ordinary, but just the impact that Apparel Impact is doing within New Hampshire, to see it in action as we do it, you kind of, it's a good feeling, so it's, things like that.
Wow. Anything else we didn't cover that people should know?
Community program. So we have a community partner program.
Okay.
So this program we developed about 3 months ago.
Okay.
And what this program is it gives people an opportunity to earn extra income. So this is kind of our start of how do we impact the community from an economic standpoint. It's great to give clothes away. It's great to support people in need. But what about the dad or mom that's working 2 jobs and could use an extra couple $100 a month? How do we impact those families in New Hampshire? And so we developed a community partner. Basically, you can actually go to our site and sign up, and you look for bin sites. So you can, if you have a friend who owns a gas station or you stop into a business and they have room for a bin, and you think it would be a good spot, if you place that bin, Apparel Impact will actually provide you residual income for you and your family every quarter. We'll send you a check as a thank you for the referral and the bin placement. It's not life-changing money, but it's gas money, it's grocery money. It's something that can impact a family of 1 to 4 to 5. Every bit helps.
Right.
And we actually have a family right now in Brookline, New Hampshire, who just signed up. They already placed their bin. They're already discussing 2 other bin placements. We have another family in Goffstown who signed up, and they've already received their first residual check. So it's kind of full circle.
So is it based on the whole? Is it kind of like they're sharing in the profit of the company as a whole?
It's profit share. It's
So it's not just what gets delivered to their particular bin, it's based on the whole company?
No, it's based on what gets delivered specifically to their bin, and
How do you keep track of all that?
So there's actually it's a great question. There's an average bag weight of 13.5 pounds.
Okay.
And that's kind of what we base it off. So if there's 10 bags, we know there's 130 some odd pounds, and then that's what we calculate. And we keep track. We have our own database, and they get quarterly newsletters with all their data that shows how much your bin collected, or how many bins you have, and how much weight's been collected. And here's a thank you check for it. So.
Wow. And then the company that hosts the site also gets paid?
They can. So there's a
So
few. They can either choose to support a nonprofit or cause, or they can choose a tax write-off. So a $1,200 a year tax write-off for placing a bin for any small business or company that places one. And the way we do that is Apparel Impact actually makes the donation in their name, and they get to take advantage of that.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
And where do you usually make your donations when you're doing it that way?
All over the place.
All over?
Yeah, all over. So Families in Transition, Vision International Missions. We want to partner with as many nonprofits as possible in New Hampshire. Mm-hmm. So
nonprofits that are basically helping families in need, though, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, that's kind of what we're about. And so we'll make a donation in the person's name, the bin host name, and they get to take advantage of it. So,
That's great.
yeah, it's really cool. Yeah,
That is a really great project.
thank you.
So if other people in other communities wanted to contact you about starting this type of program in, say, their state,
Yeah,
could they contact you on your website as well?
absolutely. Yeah, there's a contact form, apparelimpact.com, and you can always give us a call. It's 603-505-4779. And you can get a hold of us if there's people in other states that are looking to kind of develop a similar company or project. I'd love to chat with them because I think the more of apparel impacts we have, these types of companies, I think the bigger impact within our local communities,
Right.
but also from an environmental perspective. I mean, if we can create 10 times more jobs nationally, if we can reduce waste, and if we can help out low-income families or homeless, I mean, it's kind of the perfect company scenario. Like,
Absolutely.
Why wouldn't we have more of that,
Right. And like with shoes and things like that you get, are they sent somewhere where they're taken apart if they're, say, not usable?
Yeah, so all of that can be recycled. So if they're usable, they're going to be put to use.
Right.
But if they're not, all of it can be recycled, meaning shredded and put in the wall for installation or furniture installation. There's companies in Arizona. There's actually a company, now I'm going to forget the name, but anyways, it's in Arizona, and they take used denim, which we've actually shipped to them. They've taken used denim, and they make insulation for construction companies. So Levi has partnered with them.
Well, it must be healthier than the stuff they used to use. That
It's so much healthier. It's just,
does
it's
it
so much.
also hold the heat though?
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. So that's kind of the idea is like, why not recycle our clothing and make it, create jobs with it, support people, and make a difference from an environmental perspective,
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
What are some of the other weird uses that could be done?
I don't know.
What other things have you guys found?
Some other weird, I thought that the wall insulation was a little strange because
Yeah, that is different.
I always thought it was always that, I don't know what you call it,
That
the pink stuff. Yeah. You get like fiberglass on your
Right.
hands. Like, what are we doing? But so I thought that was cool. The furniture installation I thought was a really cool idea.
Absolutely.
I'm
And
trying
it
to,
probably holds longer than that foam.
right. Well, right, exactly, because
Yeah.
it's already broken down, The military uses textiles for their exercise fields. So for instance, if Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, when I was in the Army for a few years, and when I was in Missouri, I had basic training there, and their exercise field was actually textiles, like shredded to the smallest possible finite, material.
Right.
But it was basically, 100 yards long, and they had the pull-up bars, and that's kind of what you ran on. Textiles. It's kind of softer on the feet. It's not like cement.
Oh,
and
so
you
kind
can
of the same way they do it on a track.
exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, but textiles. So there's so many uses,
Yeah, it's just hard to imagine that, your jeans are now going to be insulation.
Right,
Or
yeah.
that you're running on them.
Especially, it's painful if it's your favorite pair of jeans and
I
they
know.
ripped, you don't want to see them go somewhere. But yeah, I mean, the majority of our stuff can be put to use, and it's such a, it has such a good impact, So,
That's fantastic.
yeah.
So before we close out, what's your favorite book of all time? Just so people have a point of reference.
Oh boy, my favorite book of all time.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't warn me that you were going to ask me this.
I'm sorry.
No,
Well,
it's
we
all right.
promote literacy. So.
Okay, awesome. My favorite book, I would have to say Getting Back to Work by Bill Clinton.
Oh, really? That was good?
It was amazing. And you don't even have to come from either a conservative or a liberal perspective, really, because I know, you can talk politics and it gets a little crazy, but if you just read the book and what he's saying and kind of, forget everything else, maybe if you're a conservative or what have you, if you just look at the context of what he's saying, he's got a lot of great ideas for the U.S., but he talks a lot about recycling and the
Really?
importance of it. And I learned a lot from that book. So I would say Getting Back to Work by Bill Clinton. I think it came out, I want to say I read it 2012, so about 3 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Really good book, though.
And I also understand that you have some children.
I do, yeah. Yeah, I have an 11-year-old daughter, Janelle, and then I have a 5-year-old son, Ben. They're actually at basketball right now, but yeah.
So what's your favorite book that you like to read with your kids?
Favorite book? It's a shark book. So my kids love sharks. I have no idea why, but I think we took them to the Boston Aquarium, and they, I don't know, they just love seeing the kind of the center tank and all the sharks and stuff. I don't know what the name of it is, but we literally read it probably 2 to 3 times a week, and it's just like cool facts about sharks, and it's educational.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
sounds fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing so much about your company. It sounds like a great community company.
Yeah, thank you.
Had no idea about the impact of apparel on the community in that way, and never thought about the dyes running into the water.
Right. Yeah. It's pretty significant, and just the idea, the fact that a T-shirt, to make one T-shirt takes 700 gallons of water. One T-shirt takes 700 gallons of purified, clean water. We can reuse our clothing for other purposes. There's so many other areas that we can improve upon. So
That's great.
yeah.
So again, your website so we can get a hold of you?
ApparelImpact.com.
Okay,
That has all of our info on it.
great. Thank you so much. Until next time, keep asking questions. You never know what you're going to find out. And check out Apparel Impact and see what you can do in your community.